Hi, good afternoon. Good afternoon. This is Point of View with Miss Shirley Polk, and I am yours truly, Miss Shirley Polk. I'm so happy you're with me today. Dear God, as I sit before you to speak, I pray to you that my soul you will keep. And if I should die before I finish, I pray to you, dear God, in the name of Jesus, that any outstanding sins will be forgiven. Amen. It's a wonderful, wonderful day, and I am just grateful, grateful, grateful because of who God is and because He has allowed us to live to see another day. It's a wonderful, wonderful day, and I am just so grateful. Today, we're going to talk about mental health during the holidays, and then it's forever. It means during and after the holidays and back into the holidays. So it's covering everything for all of us. So we are talking about mental health, emotionally, physically, and mentally, because the holidays do bring about quite a lot of stress because we have loved ones that are not with us anymore, whether it might be through death, whether it's through them just going out of our lives. It could be romantic hurt because someone has left us and ended the relationship, whether we were married or in a relationship or courtship, whatever it is, they could be gone from our lives. So many things could be happening. We could be at odds with someone in our family, someone we're close to, whether they are blood or not. There's so many things that make they seem to magnify themselves during the holidays. And the holidays during that period of time, there's so much more stress, it seems, than during the rest of the years, because the holidays are days that families get together and enjoy each other more and more during the Thanksgiving and the Christmas holidays, especially. And there is Easter, and there's Valentine's Day. Okay, Valentine's Day is not a holiday, but then those holy days, uh, Easter, Christmas, and Thanksgiving, those are times when families get together and we just get together to enjoy each other. So I'm going to talk about that. I am in the Harvard Business Review today. I am in psychology today, and I am in NAMI. I guess that's the way they pronounce it. I don't know what they pronounce it. NAMI. But anyway, it's NAMI. And what it is the National, let me get there, National Alliance on Mental Illness. And I have a great article by David H. Gillison. David H. Gillison, and that acronym is NAMI, and I believe it's .org. I'm not sure whether it's .org. Let me see. I'm going to get a little close. Yes, it's .org. NAMI.org. And they have a beautiful picture of him and his family on here. This is Daniel H. Gillison. So I'm going to come back there. And so, we talk about boundaries, and I talk about that quite often. And most of the information that I relate to you, there's usually something about boundaries in there. Something about boundaries. But let me do one thing here. I have the radio going, so I'm going to come back. I'm going to play just a little bit of I'd Love to Teach the Whole World music until I come back, okay? So, God willing, I'll be right back. But I want to go and turn this radio down. All right, let me get to the song. I think that's it right here. Or is this it? I think this might be it. Okay, thank you so much for your patience. I'm going to go right into our article. I was talking about boundaries, setting boundaries. And, we talk about boundaries. We all need boundaries because boundaries are there to teach people how to treat us and how to respect us, our space, us, period, and treat and teach us how to teach people to respect our boundaries. Okay, so I'm going to talk about boundaries right quick. Why do we have boundaries? A guide to setting better boundaries, and it's by Joe Sanok. Joe is Sanok, okay? And the summary is boundaries are limits we identify for ourselves and apply through action or communication. That's what boundaries are. That is what our boundaries are. Like exercise, meditation, and budgeting, most of us know that having boundaries around our work and our home lives is something we should probably do. Even so, finding the time to change unhealthy behaviors, learn, and build new habits is easier said than done. It's easier said than done because we can go through our lives and we might not have ever heard of boundaries, and people are just so they impose on us mentally and physically, and we might not have heard in the past the term boundaries, but we boundaries concerning ourselves, like our physical, personal, and mental boundaries. And we know that we have probably encroached somebody else's boundaries by saying some things that we shouldn't have said because we didn't know any better. And then sometimes people know better and they say things because they're just bold and rude. I'll put it like that. But we have to set boundaries if you haven't set boundaries, because when we go to family functions or they come to our homes, or we gather together somewhere, somebody somewhere feels like they can say whatever they want, whenever they want to say it, and however they want to say it to you. But we have to learn and we have to know to let them know, and ourselves first, that I'm not going to let anybody do this to me, say this to me, because I'd be offended. And so we have to teach ourselves first how to set boundaries and then teach each other person how to respect our boundaries. I think I said that plain enough, okay? So, even so, finding the time to change unhealthy behaviors, learn, and build new habits is easier said than done because we're so used to people coming up, well, when you're going to do this and when you're going to do this, don't you think it's time for you to do this? Don't you think it's time for this? You ought to do this. You ought to do that. Some people have no governor. They have no limits on what they feel like they can say and what they say and do towards other people. So we have to teach people to respect the boundaries that we set for our mental, emotional, and physical health. We have to do that in a world. And let me see, this piece is done. And I know I have one in 21. I have one in 23, I believe. So this is 22. This is April the 14th, 2022. And like I said, Joe Sanok, a guide to setting better boundaries. And this is the Harvard Business Review. All right, this is where I'm getting this information. So it's going to talk to us about setting boundaries and teaching people to respect us. First, we respect ourselves and we set limits to what we're going to allow others to do and say to us. Okay? We have to do that for our own mental, physical, and emotional well being. And the holidays are times when we are hypersensitive to many, many things because of the things that have gone on in our lives, that the people are missing in our lives, and so many emotional, mental things that are going on in our minds, things that we couldn't do anything about. And so just so much is going all around in our minds. So we have to let people know, hey, there's some things you can say to me, some things you cannot say. And, back up, respect my space. I am a human being just like you, and I demand respect. I will respect you, and you will respect me. Okay? So, like exercise, meditation, and budgeting, most of us know that having boundaries around us, work and at work and at our home, uh, lives is something we should probably do. So I know I backed up on that. So let me go here. Okay. We talked about in a world. It's a fast-paced world, as fast-paced as ours. It's tempting to continually look for the next shortcut or productivity to keep pace with the competition. But these habits don't usually work. Pre-pandemic, because this is in 22, okay? Pre-pandemic research indicated that many Americans were already uh, sleeping hours, sleeping less hours than previous generations, often to get more work done, sleeping less hours, often to get more work done. Yet, we were, oh, listen to this, my goodness. Yet, we were somehow increasingly unproductive, even though people slept less to get more work done, they were increasingly unproductive. Sleeping less to work more and still less productive. That is something else, isn't it? So, more recent studies show that post pandemic stress, anxiety, and insomnia has gone up. It's gone up. My goodness. Unsurprisingly, we are also more stressed. Look at here, caffeinated and miserable. Wow. Our free time and physical activity has, on the whole, declined. All of that has declined. The harder we try to do better, the worse it gets. That's it in a nutshell. We're talking about having peace of mind for the holidays, making it through the holidays less stressful, less weighted down, okay? Boundaries as a solution sit right in front of us. Boundaries as a solution. Listen to this, as a solution. And it's saying that it sits right in front of us. I'm going to do this right here. I am yet live. I'm going to cut my camera off for just a little bit, okay? All right. So let's just continue this. Boundaries as a solutions sit right in front of us. When we define what we need to feel secure and healthy, when we need it and create tools to protect those parts of ourselves, we can do wonders for our well being at work and at home, which in turn allows us to bring our best selves to both places. Oh, I like this. Bring our best selves to both places. All right. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. A boundary could be how we want our partners and peers to communicate with us, when we want our bosses to contact us, or even the days we most prefer to work versus rest. So, why do we have such a hard time setting them? Why do we have such a hard time setting them? And I know what mine used to be. I didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I didn't want anybody to feel uncomfortable. But yet I'm uncomfortable. My feelings are hurt. I'm feeling bad because somebody has encroached my boundaries, which I didn't know at that time to call them boundaries. But hey, not anymore. I have learned better. When you learn better, you do better, and you do it respectfully and respectably. Okay. So, and he's saying, the writer, he said, in my experience counseling clients, he said, business owners and teams, I've learned that the practice of defining healthy boundaries can be triggering. So he's counseled clients, he's counseled business owners and teams. And through that counseling to them, he said, I've learned the practice of defining healthy boundaries can be triggering. He said, though boundaries represent different things to different people, they universally force us to examine toxic behaviors which roots in our past and can surface negative internal dialogues that are painful to address. And we know there are things that triggers, really, really. Have you had something that happened in your past and that a certain thing happened and you might not be thinking about it, but a certain thing happens in a certain way at a certain time, and then it takes you back to where you had that experience? So, whatever that was, it happened at the time it happened, when it happened, and how it happened, it triggered that memory that was pressed way down inside your subconscious. That's a trigger. It brought it up again. For instance, a person with tendencies to be a people pleaser, an insecurity they likely developed in childhood, might have a hard time setting boundaries because they feel the need to continually give, to be worthy of others. And that's kind of like what I was saying about myself, giving and treating each other's kind and wanting others to be happy, and yet you're miserable because of some of the actions of those very people you're wanting to be happy, and you're sacrificing your happiness, your mental stability, your emotional wellness, your physical wellness, trying to keep those happy that are the ones that are causing these triggers and doing these things to you. This is so true. This is so true. And some of us, I mean, I've been studying this psychology for years and years and years and years. And these things are really coming. And I am so glad that I've been studying this because I love to help people. I'm helped myself, and then that love I relay on to whoever will accept it. And sometimes people might not accept it, but it's out there. And so when they need it, they can always come back to these webcasts that'll be on here perpetually, I'm pretty sure, as long as there's a YouTube, a Facebook, a World Wide Web, and a LinkedIn, X, Twitch, Africa TV, wherever it is in the World Wide Web, people will be able to come back and relate to what I'm giving today, which is December the 3rd in the year 2024. My aim is to help whoever I can, however I can, and also while I'm helping myself. Okay? Highly driven people, on the other hand, may see a boundary as a personal failure or an attack on their ego. They could see it like that. So, whereas someone who hasn't yet achieved much in their life may use a boundary to reinforce negative self talk. You know, didn't we talk about the negative self talk just last week? This is amazing, isn't it? That's how I know that God has ordained this webcast, because everything coincides with the other, everything agrees with the other. Whatever site I am on, whatever sites I've been on, it all comes up and agrees with each other. I am so happy about this. I am so happy about this. The good news is, no matter what skeletons hide in your closet, I have seen that even even the most ingrained behaviors can be unlearned through setting boundaries. You hear that? He said he's learned that the most ingrained behaviors can be unlearned through setting boundaries. Now that's good news, isn't it? So here's what to do and what not to do as you get started. What not to do. Talking about setting boundaries, and then we're going to get to the holiday information, surviving the holidays. But we have to set these boundaries. So many of us have gone through years and years taking mental, physical, and emotional abuse from others who have no boundaries themselves. And we're not going to do that this year. No, we are not. Because you're going to know how to set your boundaries, and you are going to be able to stand your ground, okay, with your boundaries. Teach people how to treat you, and you teach yourself how to teach people to treat you, and you stand by it, okay? So, at their core, boundaries are all about who we give power to. You hear that? Boundaries about all about who we give power to. Because when you let people say any and everything to you, treat you any kind of way, disrespect you, that means that you have given them power to do that. So at the core, boundaries are all about who we give power. So after today, hey, we're going to have the power, okay? So they force us to analyze why we may not be giving ourselves permission to work and live in the way that we feel is best for our well being. If we're not deciding our lives, schedules, and workloads, who is? Boundaries allow us to decide when, how, and if we give the power away. Boundaries. They allow us to decide, to personally decide when, how, and if we give this power away. You're in control. If you want to give people power, you're in control of it, okay? But you have to have boundaries. So, this is why when setting boundaries, we typically go wrong when we expect other people to give us what we need, as opposed to taking the initiative ourselves. We may ask our partners and peers to communicate with compassion, our bosses to send their last email no later than 5 p.m., or our workplace for more flexible schedules and still not see the outcomes we want. We can ask them and tell them, but unless we start setting these boundaries, sometimes they just fall on deaf ears. Okay? So, in time, we get tired of asking. A boundary becomes another conversation we don't have the energy to see through. All right. We give up or decide to just go with the flow and succumb to schedules, practices, or people who don't serve us. But the only this only leads to growing resentment. It only leads to growing resentment. You have to show people that you mean business, and you show them in a tactful, intelligent, dignified way. And if they don't get it, then somehow you have to go another route. But make sure that you see about yourself. Okay? So here is telling us what to do. It just told us what not to do. Okay? One way to overcome these obstacles and re empower yourself is to change your mindset around how boundaries work. Understand that boundaries are limits you identify for yourself and apply through action or communication. This doesn't mean you get everything you want when you want it. It means there are small things within your control that you can do to protect your time and energy. You hear that? Oh, yes, loud and clear. To start, take a step back and begin by labeling your boundaries as hard or soft. I like this. Number one, hard boundaries are non-negotiables, okay? You don't negotiate on these hard boundaries. That's number one. Boundaries that you are unwilling to compromise on and need to act on immediately. That's what they are, these hard boundaries, all right? Think of them as things you will never do or never accept as reasonable. For example, I will never take on a consulting client that can only meet me on Fridays. Sensible, isn't it? Number two, soft boundaries. They're aspirations, soft boundaries, aspirations. Boundaries that are more like wishes and that you're willing to compromise on. Think of them as goals you want to reach but are flexible around, okay? For example, maybe you want to start leaving the office at 4:30 p.m. instead of 5:30 p.m. But other people, aka your manager, are involved in making that a reality, okay? Now, let me go back. But other people, aka your manager, are involved in making that a reality. So it's like a desire, a wish, or something. This is a soft boundary, okay? You can decide to take it slow and think about how you will initiate that conversation. Now, when you start to define boundaries as hard and soft, it will become easier to figure out your own negotiable versus your aspiration. You can decide what's negotiable or non-negotiable and what is an aspiration, the hard and soft boundaries. This will allow you to confidently make choices that are aligned with your deepest needs and manage your energy as you work towards the rest. I like that. Here's how to begin. The first thing you do is determine your top priorities in work and in life. Determine your top priorities in work and in life. What are the one or two things you are trying to get out of your personal life and your professional life? What are the one or two things you're trying to get out of your life, out of your personal and your professional life? So it could be as straightforward as spending more time with your family or finding a job that prioritizes your well being, uh, naming what you can't live without versus what you wish for will help distinguish the hard and soft boundaries you need to set. Thank you so much for being with me today. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you being with me today. Talking about these boundaries, we have to set boundaries. So, to start, try a visualization exercise that uh, he said I use sometime with some of my clients. He said, imagine your life as it is right now is no longer possible. Say you get laid off, you can't live in the town you live in, your partner breaks up with you, or you're forced to change careers. What would you do next? What would you miss? What would you not miss? What would feel the most exciting? What would feel the saddest? Aha. Maybe you would choose a job closer to loved ones. Maybe you would miss having a compassionate boss, but not miss constantly working overtime. Maybe you would finally feel free to explore other places, industries, and people. Now ask yourself, out of all the things you listed, which really can't you live without? Out of all the things you don't miss, which are you unwilling to go back to? This is nice. Your answers will reveal your high level priorities as well as some lower level aspirations that may be hidden below the safety net of your current situation. Number two, test out one hard boundary. Okay, now that you have a better idea of what your high level priorities are, and you can use what I call, this is the writer said, what he calls a cutback experiment to set hard boundaries to protect them. He said this exercise involves limiting tasks, interactions, or activities that are not the best use of your time. Being more selective about what and who you give your energy to, and with to will allow you to focus only on the items that give you the greatest return on your investment, whether that is greater achievement at work, more happiness at home, or some other reward. For instance, he said, let's say that your high level priority is to protect the amount of energy you exert at work so that you are less drained upon arriving at home. Think about everything you do at the office. Your tasks may feel equally important, but emails, heads down work, and meetings can all have very different outcomes on your business bottom line. You may set a hard boundary by saying no to meetings that you know are useless and replacing them with blocks of rest time on your calendar or by wait a minute, let me get this. I'm my mouse. It's going a little fast for me. My scrolling here, so let me get back here. You may set a hard boundary by saying no to meetings that you know are useless and replacing them with blocks of rest time on your calendar or by blocks of putting on and putting on a 000 message up after 5 p.m. 000 message. So in your personal life, you may equally consider the relationships or activities that constantly drain you and drop them in lieu of spending time with the people who bring you joy. Essentially, you want to use hard boundaries to do less and conserve your energy with getting more important things done. That is, things that actually benefit you and your needs. So he said, when I conduct the exercise with clients, he said, that is where I often set push. He said, that's where he often gets pushback. People say, isn't it selfish to just focus on what I want? And he says, my advice is for them to answer their own question, to think of the exercise as an experiment and gather the data. After setting their boundaries, ask, did I feel more or less productive at work? Am I more or less refreshed in any role as a partner, a friend, or a parent? You can always return to your old ways, but frequently people discover the taste or mindsets that no longer serve them. My. They discover those tasks and those mindsets that no longer serve them. See, the thing we have to do is be willing to try something different. So many times we're stuck in the same old rut, doing the same old thing over and over again, getting the same results, which are not productive and they are not beneficial to us health wise, mentally, physically, or emotionally. So we have to have a mind where we will be willing to try something to help us to have a better outlook on life. We have to learn to want to try something different, okay? And then we practice a few soft boundaries. He said, next, think about your aspirations, the things you would like to change, but don't need to change urgently. He said, maybe you want to get a better night's sleep, limit the amount of time you spend on social media, or spend less office hours answering tech, tedious emails. He said, are there soft boundaries you can set to feel more productive, creative, and rested at work and at home? He said, test them out. Test them out. For example, you could try not drinking caffeine after lunch to improve your sleep. Limit your social media scrollings to your lunch break, or block an hour on your calendar to answer emails in one go and stop as soon as the time is up. Allow 1 hour. When that hour is up, no more emails for that time and that day. Okay? There are so many things we can try. He said, remember that both hard and soft boundaries at this stage, there is some flexibility. Test the waters to see how you feel and how the results play out. Okay, now let me get on to this. Avoid setting this common boundary setting mistake. That's the psychology today. I'm going over here to my other article, which is NAMI. Okay. All right. NAMI.org. This is by uh, Daniel H. Gillison. Daniel H. Gillison. So he said, even though my mom passed away, and he did this in 21. So this was during the time of the pandemic. He did this in December the 20th, 2021. And so he'll refer to some pandemic in here because this is the time that he wrote this. But this is the article is the most difficult time of the year. Mental health during the holidays. The most difficult time of the year, mental health during the holidays. He said, even though my mom passed away 7 years ago, this was in 2021 that he wrote this, okay? He said, it still feels like yesterday, and I can truly understand what he's saying. Mama, she left us, well, Daddy had left us in July of 1991 into eternity. That's what I'm saying. And then in June of 1992, Mama left us, but I still feel it. I still miss my mommy and my daddy. So I understand what he's saying, even though it's been, 32 years. I've been here 32 years. Yes, it's been 32 years. Yes, it has. Okay. So even though he said my mom passed away, he said 7 years ago from 2021 backwards. He said it still feels like yesterday. He said I was actually in the room when it happened. He said I was playing her song when suddenly she suffered from a heart attack and wouldn't recover from. I understand. I understand. Totally understand. Okay. He said Christmas was my mom's favorite time of the year. She loved spending time with family and watching her grandchildren open their presents. Ever since her passing, the holidays have never quite felt the same. Don't we understand that? We totally understand it. Thank you so much for joining me today. It hasn't been quite the same. He said, so for me, the holiday season is always accompanied by a tinge of sadness. And sadness can be challenging to cope with when all around you people are singing about how this is the most wonderful time of the year. How do you handle so many movies and ads broadcasting family and togetherness if you've lost a loved one or you feel all alone? What do you do with so many messages about everything being merry and bright, literally cold and dark? So, the truth is, for many, This can actually be the most difficult time of the year. And then he goes back into 2014. He said in 2014, NAMI or NAMI is NAMI. That's the acronym. And so I'm just going to say NAMI because I don't want to mispronounce it, okay? So he said in 2014, NAMI found that 64% of people with mental illness say the holidays make their conditions worse. A 2021 survey showed that 3 in 5 Americans feel their mental health is negatively impacted by the holidays. And as we face, he goes on now. Remember, this is in 2021, okay? So he said, and as we face a second holiday season during the COVID-19 pandemic, we know that more people than ever will be grieving someone or something during this time. And we know and we remember how that was. So if you find yourself feeling anxious for the holidays, you are const- constantly and certainly not alone. Here are a few steps you can take to prioritize your mental health during the hectic season. And this is just as good as it was back then, okay? Accept your feelings. And we talk about this. You have to accept your feelings. You have to acknowledge that you feel the way you feel, okay? Acknowledge it and accept it. And that will help you out, really. So the holidays can bring up a range of emotions for people. Sometimes you can even experience seemingly contradictory emotions all at once. Try your best to acknowledge and accept your emotions rather than place judgment on them, okay? So it's okay to feel happy. It's okay to feel sad. It's even okay to feel both happy and sad. Give yourself compassion. Oh, we've talked about this, haven't we? Give yourself compassion and allow yourself to sit with whatever you're feeling. Oh, that's wonderful. Number 2, maintain healthy habits. We're trying to get ahead of this. We're getting ahead of this because this season, we know it can be so good and so much fun, but then when we're people, we're missing people, and it can be a great strain on people who are not able to handle it. Okay? Some people are not able to handle it. So if you would, please, please share this because somebody needs this. Number 2, maintain healthy habits. For many people, the holidays lead to a massive disruption of your day to day routine. But maintaining healthy habits like going to therapy, getting enough sleep, and exercising are critical to keeping your mental health on track. Remember, getting enough sleep? And they stressed that in the last piece that we read. Number 3, set boundaries. Here we go. Set boundaries. Set boundaries. That's number 3. People like to be generous during the holidays, but that generosity doesn't have to come at the expense of having healthy boundaries. Okay? If hosting an event or buying an expensive gift is too stressful, it's okay to say no. It's also okay to limit the time you spend with family that you may have a complicated dynamic with. It's okay, okay? Number 3, make time to connect. Make time to connect. Connection and meaning are critical and important relationships and connect with yourself through self care. Let me do that again. Connections and meaning are critical to our mental health. Making time for yourself through self care. You can even connect with loved ones who are no longer with you through a family tradition or a personal remembrance ritual. And he says, for me, every Christmas, I try to find a quiet space where I can listen to the song that my mom, okay, let me get this. Let me make sure I get this right. Let me go back. He said, I tried to find a quiet space where I can listen to the song that was playing when my mom died. And he said, and even though she is not physically present with me, he said, I spend time talking to her. I will always miss my mom during Christmas, but at the same time, I will always be thankful for the many Christmases I did get to spend with her. And he said, I'm so happy that she is no longer in pain. He said, this year, that was in 2021, he said, I'm reminding myself that it's okay to still be grieving at the same time. He said, I don't have to feel guilty about enjoying the holidays without her. So he said he is learning. He said I get to spend time with her and I'm so happy that she is no longer in pain. He said this year I'm remembering and reminding myself that it's okay to still be grieving. At the same time, I don't have to feel guilty about enjoying the holidays without her. He said, this holiday season, whether you find it to be the most wonderful or most difficult time of the year, he said, I hope you'll join me in taking care of your mental health by accepting whatever emotions come up, maintaining healthy habits, setting boundaries on stressors, and making time for meaningful connection. Oh my goodness, this is good. And so there are some recommendations that he has for us, and I'm going to read those recommendations if you're having a difficult time. But I want to read something about him too. Okay, his name is Dan Gillison, Daniel H. Gillison. He's at that time he's a chief executive officer of NAMI, and that's the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And prior to the work at NAMI, he served as executive director of the American uh, Psychiatric Association Foundation. That's APAC, okay? In addition to serving other leadership roles in other leadership roles at large. So he is quite the experienced psychiatrist. He's experienced, okay? So thank you so much. I hope this helps us and helps you. And so I know I finished that piece, but let me make sure that I did finish it. Yeah. And so there are some recommendations that he has here. Um, and for managing, he said, holiday mental health resources. He said, managing your mental health during the holidays. It's a blog. Next, surviving Painful holiday emotions, another blog. Avoiding holiday stressors, tips for a stress-free season. It's another blog. Coping with the holidays when there is mental illness. Wow. 9 keys to a resilient holiday, and that's in Psychology Today. And the other one was in NAMI Maryland. And then there's 10 realistic ways to set boundaries with others during the holidays. That's in HuffPost. Then mindfulness and meditations for the holiday blues, and that's in Headspace. Okay, so those are great places to go and get some information. And so I'm going to close out for today, and I thank you so much for being with me. I love you so much, and I really thank you for being here with me and supporting me. You are wonderful. You are absolutely awesome, and I appreciate you. And this, I'm telling you, just in with God willing, I'll be here on Thursday and Saturday again, but Saturday, and those in Denison and surrounding areas may know that Pastor C. Evans, who is the pastor of the Hopewell Baptist Church in Denison, Texas, has transitioned to eternity, and he will be funeralized on Saturday in Denison at Hopewell Baptist Church, and I believe it's 610 West Bond Street. And those of us who are from Denison, we can go right to it. But those who are not from Denison, it's on Bond Street, right on the corner of Bond and Myrick Avenue. They're in Denison, Texas, and the funeral will begin at 11 a.m. And any of you know who know Pastor C.E. Evans know that he is a great man, and I don't use past tense. Even though he has gone to sleep, he is still the same. He's a great man, and we have been friends for years. And he and Sister Evans and the Hopewell family would allow the Inspiration of God singers and the Polk Sisters and Company to have functions right there at Hopewell Baptist Church. He even allowed me to have a UCAN convention, and it was on mental health. It was on uh, domestic violence and positive thinking and all of that. And that's been many years ago. So I am thankful for Pastor Evans and knowing him and us being friends. And I don't call too many like genuine friends, but he was a friend, and I really appreciate him. And I was just in Denison. We funeralized our first cousin, Lucille McShan uh, Moore Edwards, on Saturday. And as I was at my other cousin's house, she got up and got her phone. She said, I got to get on the prayer line. She said, I can't miss this. And lo and behold, it was Pastor Evans, the prayer line, and he was praying. And there's many people who be on that prayer line on Saturday nights. And she said that she doesn't miss it. So I had got the privilege of being on the prayer line. And I'm thankful for that. We don't know why God allows things to happen in our lives, but I am so grateful for Him guiding me and leading me in the way that I should go. I love you so much. Please continue to pray for me, and I'm praying for you. Enjoy your day, okay? Enjoy your life. Do everything you can to enjoy this life that God has given you. God willing, I'll see you on Thursday. And remember, tomorrow is from the Biblical Files of Dr. Mack, right here at 2:15 p.m.